Time now for Financial Friday on WOMI with your host, Drew Watson, sponsored by Aligned Wealth Management.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Maker Incorporated.
Hello and welcome to Financial Fridays, brought to you by Aligned Wealth Management. This is the first show this year, 2023 in June, and we have a pretty good lineup for you today. We're going to look at the difference between small cap and large cap stocks, whether or not it makes sense to buy an electric vehicle, and then answer your questions that have come in via email in our final segment, as we do every week. Thursday was a little bit of a turnaround for the markets, where they were broadly higher across the board, but the Dow has been kind of slowly on a skid the last 4 out of 5 weeks. Mainly the news is in Washington, D.C., to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, the most wretched hive of scum and villainy. Debt bill has passed the House and looks like it will pass the Senate. So we're getting a little bit of a rally there. Risk assets have found an appetite across the board towards the end of this week. Gold is back up after kind of choppy trading really for the last few weeks. West Texas Intermediate crude is back above $70 a barrel as of Thursday's close. And in the commodity space, we've continued to get what I would consider to be higher prices with cattle, but generally most commodities have been in line with their trading pattern as they've done so far this year. Unless you've been living on air and free water, what you know is any trip to the grocery store has produced, grocery bills that have maybe 3 numbers before the decimal point, and that's if you're lucky, as meat prices have continued to rise. Now, we may get some help from pork, as there seems to be a little bit of a glut in pork prices and pork out there, and that'll be interesting to see what happens the rest of the summer. If it keeps up the way it is, you may be having a pork burger instead of a hamburger come 4th of July. Keep listening to Financial Fridays right here on this station, brought to you by Aligned Wealth Management. We'll be back in 60 seconds.
What do you want to do when you grow up? When we were young, it's a question we were often asked. As we get older, our passions become clearer, our pursuits become careers, and if we're diligent, we begin to plan for the life we want to live. That's why at Ameriprise Financial, we ask, what's most important to you? Starting with our Confident Retirement approach, your Ameriprise Financial Advisor will ask questions that will help you arrive at a customized plan that can help you realize your goals today, tomorrow, and throughout retirement. With the right financial advisor, life can be brilliant. Call Aligned Wealth Management, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, Inc., today at 270-684-8424. That's 270-684-8424. Office is located at 2708 New Hartford Road in Owensboro, Kentucky. The Confident Retirement approach is not a guarantee of future financial results. Investment advisory products and services are made available through Ameriprise Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor.
Hello and welcome back to Financial Fridays, brought to you by Aligned Wealth Management. I'm your host, Private Wealth Advisor Drew Watson, and in our Investment Spotlight segment, we're going to take a deeper dive into some small and mid-cap stocks today versus the top of the market, which is the large cap sector. As always, this is not a recommendation to buy or sell any security, but just a matter of providing information that you might find useful. Now, let us set the stage. The market obviously has done better this year than some people have thought, with the S&P 500, let's say, coming in. Let's see. Earlier this week, the S&P was up year to date, roughly 9%, and that's been a shocker to some people. But if you take out the top dozen or so tech stocks, the S&P 500 is really right around break even. And as a setting the table piece here, keep in mind the S&P 500 is a market cap weighted index, meaning that the largest stocks such as Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA have an outweighting or outsized impact on the performance of the index compared to the 498th or 499th or 500th size stock. So far this year, and especially since March, investors have favored large cap stocks. The dominating performance, as I said, of a handful of mega cap stocks this year, principally concentrated in the tech and tech related areas, has created a sizable return dispersion between the S&P 500 index and the smaller cap Russell indexes that would be either mid or small cap stocks. According to Morningstar, the S&P 500 devotes about 26% of the index to technology, significantly more than the roughly 16% of technology companies that make up the Russell Mid-Cap Index and 14% of tech stocks that sit in the Russell Small Cap 2000 universe. Conversely, each of the Russell indices has exposure to smaller regional banks, which have come under significant selling pressure since March and the bank failures. And given that a potential recession in the U.S. could hamper mid and small-sized companies, which tend to be more domestically driven, investors have placed a greater emphasis on larger cap companies with broader revenue levers. Tightening credit and lending standards have also weighed on small cap momentum since March. That said, think about the environment in January for a moment and look at how the Russell indexes were performing against the S&P 500. At that time, economic data was refuting a pending recession, and interest rates were coming down, and the market began to price in a slowdown in Fed rate hikes. In that environment, smaller cap stocks were outperforming their larger cap counterparts in the S&P 500. I would suggest if economic data continues to hold, a soft or no landing scenario takes on more shape. The Fed pauses in June and interest rates continue to stabilize. Cyclical areas of the economy could perform better than they are doing today. Mid-cap and small-cap benchmarks, both the funds and ETFs, tend to have a greater concentration of cyclical exposure and may see a change in sentiment should the U.S. economy continue to hold water and avoid a deeper or protracted downturn. That's kind of the Goldilocks scenario. Something to think about is that in any mean reversion trading inside tech and or further bank stabilization could also provide a tailwind for small cap and mid cap stocks and their indexes if economic conditions remain stable. That's a big if. In the meantime, investors should remain defensively biased overall, I think, and depending on who you follow, you might see people are tactically underweight small caps, but something that's been tried and true over time is maintaining some exposure to small caps can help diversify the portfolio. But it does appear that investors are all sitting on the side of the boat where large cap tech sits. So, that's one thing to think about is we are getting close to what I would say, maybe not all-time records, but certainly pretty high records where just a few stocks are moving the entire index. And if you look at the subsectors of technology, up 34% year to date, and communication services, which has a lot of components in there, up 32%, definitely you can see they are very much outstripping other pieces of the component indexes that would make up the S&P 500. So that's food for thought. We're going to be back after a word from our sponsors as it pertains to if you're thinking about buying an electric vehicle, you will definitely want to listen to the next segment, because we're going to discuss this from the perspective of financial planning and budgeting, et cetera, just to see if there is any real savings to be had. Keep listening to Financial Fridays, brought to you by Align Wealth Management. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
When today is unpredictable, you need sound advice and strong support to help you stay focused on your long-term financial goals for tomorrow. Ameriprise has been guiding clients through challenging times for over 125 years. You can take comfort in working with an advisor who's backed by that strong experience and who's there to guide you with personalized, goal-based financial advice. Together, you and your Ameriprise advisor can plan your future while navigating your now. Call Align Wealth Management, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, LLC, today at 270-684-8424. That's 270-684-8424. Offices located at 2708 New Hartford Road in Owensboro, Kentucky.
Hello and welcome back to Financial Fridays, brought to you by Align Wealth Management. I'm your host, Drew Watson, and this is the financial planning segment of the show where we will take a deeper dive into financial planning topics that come up from time to time. And today, a really good financial planning topic to discuss, I think you could say fits in with budgeting, also fits in maybe to what's going on in Washington, D.C. and what's going on environmentally. And let's talk about what is the cost of an electric vehicle. I think, our former CFO here, Bill Young, great guy, always taught us to say a number by itself means nothing. You have to have a reference point or a point of comparison when it comes to numbers. And I think that is a good jumping off point when it comes to the electric vehicle discussion. And let's say that jumping off point may be a either normal combustion motor vehicle, or it could be a hybrid vehicle. And I think if you are looking at the potential move to an electric car and wanting to know from a financial planning standpoint what you should do from a budgeting standpoint, there's probably some things to think about. First and foremost, getting facts in this arena is not as easy as going down to your local gas station and just seeing that gas is, let's say, $3 a gallon, and you typically fill up once a week in a 15-gallon tank. And so you've got $45 a week in gasoline cost, and you get your oil change twice a year, and that's another $30, and then voila, before you know it, what you come up with is, you're out, let's say, $2,400 a year on normal maintenance, and then of course there's tires and such that might come in every 4 or 5 years. So as it pertains to the electric car, there's a Latin term that escapes me, but it basically means buyer beware. I think it's caveat imperator, but this is you kind of knowing what you're getting into before you get into it. And certainly with an electric car, there's a lot to know. First and foremost, electric cars do require electricity to charge, and it would be a good idea to get some estimates from your local power company as to where they've seen surges or additional costs, because if your electric bill is like the ones that we have in Owensboro, Kentucky from Owensboro Municipal Utilities, what you pay for electricity is just a very small portion of it, but a lot of fees and environmental surcharges come into play that bridge off of what your normal electric cost is. But if you have a pretty good idea that you'll be charging your car every night, and you talk to people that have had electric cars, have a frank conversation with them, and there again, you need to see the bill to see how much of an additional electricity grind that you're going to have. Now, a good benchmark is further west, where electric cars have been around a little bit longer than they have in this part of the country. Already, fast charging stations are charging anywhere between 25 cents, 40 cents to just under $1 a minute for charging. I know the Rivian, the new pickup truck that they offer, according to the Wall Street Journal, I think it's the R1S or R15. You have to forgive my my nearsightedness. At a supercharging station, it takes about 30 minutes to charge. You're going to look at getting around 285 miles per charge, but that 30-minute charge is just 80% full. So, if you just take 80% of the 275-mile thing, that's 220 miles. And if a charging station charges you even, say, 50 cents a minute, that's $15 to go 220 miles. If you filled up a V8, V8 big truck engine, you're going to get roughly somewhere between 350 and 400 miles on a tank of gas in a 20-gallon tank. Normally, what you might be finding out with your electric cars is once you have to start paying for the supercharger, you may be paying more than you would for gas. Secondarily, your additional cost, and you're not going to have oil changes, of course, but electric vehicles weigh much, much more than a conventional vehicle. So in the case of that Rivian pickup, I think it was basically 1/3 or 40% more gross curb weight than a conventionally gasoline aspirated engine would be on a vehicle with that size of bed, etc. And that's going to put more and more wear on your tires. Just kind of common sensing it. If your tires are carrying around 1/3 more weight, they're probably going to last maybe around 1/3 less than they normally do. And you may be going through tires, let's say every other year at $1,000 compared to other ones. And the big deal will be what kind of charging station you set up in your house, because to get the DC charging, a lot of local utilities will put you on basically surge pricing. That is, you will be charged like you're a business, and that's expensive to get set up to have that type of panel put in your house to be fed from the either underground or overhead utilities. And then when you're charging, that kilowatt hour cost might be much more. And if you don't have the supercharger, what you're looking at is a period of hours and not minutes to get a I would say 80% to full charge. Now, I do think it is crucial, though, when you look at this from a financial planning standpoint, that you do want to be as much as possible in an apples-to-apples comparison. So if you're looking at that Rivian truck, I wouldn't compare it against, like, say, a Ford F-350 Super Duty or a GMC 2500 or 3500 Max pickup, because those cars are not that big. You might be looking at like a Ford Maverick or the equivalent of what the Chevy used to have in an S10 pickup. Same thing with a car. A Tesla, their smaller body style, compare that to a smaller body style, gasoline car or hybrid. And keep in mind, most of your 4-cylinder engines today are 35 to 40 miles per gallon. And even on a 12-gallon tank, 15-gallon tank, you're going to be getting up there to a range of around almost 500 miles. And I think best we can tell in this day and age is you're looking at maybe getting half that range out of a charge from a charging station. So be sure to cover all your bases. And I think what you're going to find is getting an electric vehicle may save you some money, but it's going to be in the very, very long run. And it's assuming that oil prices stay where they are or go higher, and electricity prices stay where they are or go down, which, guess what? History shows both continue to go up. And if more things are running on electricity instead of gasoline, you could probably bet your bottom dollar that economics will take over, and what you will see sooner rather than later is much higher changes in electricity prices as compared to gasoline. Keep listening to Financial Fridays for our mailbag segment next. We'll be back after a word from our sponsor.
What do you want to do when you grow up? When we were young, it's a question we were often asked. As we get older, our passions become clearer, our pursuits become careers, and if we're diligent, we begin to plan for the life we want to live. That's why at Ameriprise Financial, we ask, what's most important to you? Starting with our Confident Retirement approach, your Ameriprise Financial Advisor will ask questions that will help you arrive at a customized plan that can help you realize your goals today, tomorrow, and throughout retirement. With the right financial advisor, life can be brilliant. Call Align Wealth Management, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, Inc., today at 270-684-8424. That's 270-684-8424. Office is located at 2708 New Hartford Road in Owensboro, Kentucky. The Confident Retirement approach is not a guarantee of future financial results. Investment advisory products and services are made available through Ameriprise Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor.
Hello and welcome back to Financial Fridays, brought to you by Align Wealth Management. I'm your host, Drew Watson, private wealth advisor with Align, and the week that was a tumultuous week for me personally. The passing of two guys I've known most of my life really impacted me. It made me, kind of reassess where a person can be with or without mentors, and I would say this Q&A mailbag segment where we take questions, emails, and by all means, you can send emails directly to me at william.a.watson@ampf.com. Would be good. And people have asked me, what did you learn from some of these guys? And first and foremost, Mr. Ronald Bean was vice chairman with me at the First National Bank of Muhlenberg County for years. He passed early on in the week, and I would say key to being successful in business is being surrounded by successful people. And for anybody that's a younger business owner here, I would say probably more than anything that you hear, finding a mentor that's been tested in the trenches is a key, I think, to go to the next level. And as I said, I've been blessed to be surrounded by people like that my entire life. And what are some takeaways that we can have if you're owning a business, wanting to own a business, you're an entrepreneur, what to look for in that mentor? And I would say one, first and foremost, look for somebody that may be doing things differently than you do. And I mean that, there's a saying in the boxing business that contrasts make the fights. And I would say there's a saying in the matrimonial business that opposites attract. And by all means, if you surround yourself with people that think just like you do, you open yourself to a tremendous blind spot, in my opinion, of groupthink and herd mentality, and there has been lots and lots of businesses and organizations fail over the years just for that. I remember years ago I was at a sermon at Settle Memorial Methodist Church, and the preacher had a great sermon, and it was the 7 last words of a failed church, and those were, "We've never done it that way before." So when looking for a mentor, don't always just gravitate to someone that does things exactly the way you do or thinks the way that you do. That would be point number one. There are lots of ways to skin a cat, and you can get rid of a cat just as easy by choking it with butter as choking it with your bare hands. But I say that, take those words to heart and find some people that do have a little bit different views than you have. So that's one. I think number two, for successful businesses and finances in general, look for people that have had a longevity of experiences in various circumstances. If it's not always just finding someone who's been quote unquote successful, as a lot of times in our culture, people that are born on third base, if they do something a little bit beyond third base, they may think they've hit a home run in life. But I do think it's very much incumbent upon you, if you're looking for a mentor, find somebody that maybe has had a up from the bootstraps, especially if you've been pretty well blessed your whole life. Getting somebody that's had to do it all up from the bootstraps would meet what I just talked about, in that it's going to be somebody who has some different views of you because they've come up a different way. Also, I think people from different generations view things much differently. And if you're in any business that has customers, which every business does, that is a tremendously underrated quality to have, is the ability to kind of look multi-generationally. And I can assure you, the customers that you may have, if they're a different generation than you, they may have different values and thoughts and ideas than what you have on a regular basis. And if you can surround yourself with individuals that are from that generation, you're going to be blessed with their advice. And I would say, too, the old saying out of the Bible that there is nothing new under the sun is absolutely true. I mean, things have come through and been repackaged and repurposed, but really, especially in finance, there's really nothing new under the sun. I mean, people either pay you or they don't. Businesses either flourish or they don't. And usually it's a combination of errors that have happened over centuries that get people in trouble. And I think, too, probably third, and it's crucial in finding a mentor, somebody you can talk to both about your professional endeavors and personal endeavors. It's better to find mentors who don't take themselves so seriously. They're often not as intimidating as their resumes may indicate they should be, but being able to insert some levity in a situation is a key and long-term note of success for different individuals, that they don't take themselves too seriously, but they're able to do a good job at running the businesses that they have built, that have become parts of the board, etc. Now, some key takeaways, too, is if you surround yourself with the right people, you will pick up some habits from them that have kind of lasted a lifetime. And, one of those, Ronnie, he always dug a little bit deeper, never judge a book by a cover, and kind of get to know the customers on a personal level, and keep your ears to the grindstone constantly, so you know where you stand. An old maxim is that it's easier to stay out of trouble than to get out of trouble. And if you've ever had to move a car out of a ditch or a business out of a ditch, you absolutely know that maxim is 100% accurate, and they are words to live by. You might say, where do you find people like this? Well, every community is full of people like this. You know, take a look around. If you know the business that the way you want your business to look in the future, find some people that have had businesses that look that way in the past.
This program has been paid for by Rainmaker Incorporated.
This is WOMI Owensboro, 99.1 FM. For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.